Hello, everybody. It is Knight Rita Mustafa here, and Rita moved into doing something with cooking here, and she just wants to see me cooking. So that's what I'm doing. And she's so today's National Chocolate, and she's going to be walking through the places. So
we're going to make cupcakes instead of cake. And recipes actually should be linked below. And I actually just so we've already printed it out. It's not actually some of the
yeah. So I guess we'll start. You get a little search on chocolate. Find the choice chocolate with vanilla. 8% said they would choose chocolate. So yeah, that's all with the chocolate. So that's it. It's actually all about cake. Chocolate cake is so that's all good. Thanks everyone for joining us. So let's
okay, so this is just like my other recipe. This is pretty simple recipe put together, as long as you have the ingredients, obviously. It is gluten-free, it's vegan, and you don't really need any complicated tools. It's basically a bowl and a whisk. Should be okay. So
ready.
He's ready.
Let's go.
So I see a recipe. It's listed in the order that we can use it. So the recipe starts off.
So we have a half melted.
Yeah. So
any cookie.
So I do if you use any cooking oil that like oil that would have no process. So yeah, so basically we're fixing so the next after that, that's why it was video. And then next on the list is so
Rather as real they were going to change this.
Taste wise, you're not going to notice much. Oil and I use steam process. I use extra oil, which will give the baking taste. But it's not necessary to use so that's the reason. But yeah, taste wise, even without
okay, so we got a few comments here. And understanding. Thanks, guys. So how about now? I've got a microphone right here. Let me know, is this any better? Can you guys hear us okay? First, the pixelation is really bad. So that sucks. The video is really pixelated. I think because I'm using it on my cell phone, it was a really bad mistake. So this first video is going to be a real fail. Next time we'll actually use Practitioner. In terms of audio, is it better when we talk here? Just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, let me know, or okay. That's it. So I'm just gonna hold the mic in a little better spot. Or hey, squeeze.
difficulties on our first try.
Okay, I'm just gonna go to the settings here. Audio. Okay, so Rita, say something, and let's just see if that's any better.
Okay, so this is our first class together. We're making chocolate cupcakes today. How's that? Let us know if that's any better. You sound better. Don't know if that was before the changes or after the changes.
Okay. So let us know if that is any better. Please let us know about the audio, if that's better, please. And that might even fix up the picture a little bit. Maybe that did something too. So the image looks a little bit better too, so that's good. Hi, everybody. All right, good. MT, so that's Marnie. Hey, Marnie. Marnie says the sound is better. Thank you. That's good. Okay. Okay, picture's better, sound is better. Good. All right.
Awesome. Yeah, we're back on track.
Okay, good.
Okay, so
Make me work.
make you work.
I got my whisk.
Got your whisk. Okay, so next I'm using, what are we using? We're using oat milk today. So whatever non-dairy milk you have, just use that. You can use coconut milk, you can use rice milk, you can use whatever you have. I guess if you're not dairy free, I guess you could use regular cow's milk if you like, but we're using dairy free. And you probably saw me put some apple cider vinegar in. So this just helps the baking powder to activate. But if you don't have apple cider vinegar, I guess you could just use lemon, or you can leave it out. Actually, it will still work totally fine. And again, this is what we're gonna just let this sit on the side as we continue with the other ingredients.
So is that like fermenting? It's preparing the oat milk with the apple cider?
So it actually sort of curdles the milk, which is like a buttermilk in baking. So a lot of people use buttermilk in baking.
Can be any vinegar, or it has to
Any
be
vinegar,
any vinegar.
anything sour, basically. So lemon works also. Yeah.
Okay. Now, is that healthy to be drinking sour milk?
Yeah, well, yogurt is soured milk.
Oh, that's kind of gross, but all right.
Yeah. Okay, so now we get to the dry ingredients.
Okay.
So this is where our flour comes in. Okay, so we're gonna do 1.5 cups of flour. So I pre-mix my flour ahead of time, and I use equal amounts of brown rice flour, sorghum flour, and tapioca flour. You can just use one flour, I guess, like a brown rice flour if you wanted, but I find the combination of flours works better. You can also buy flours that have already been prepared for you, like a gluten-free flour mix. The only thing to watch out for with that is the type of flours that's in there. Sometimes pre-made mixes have like bean flour, which means you just have to adapt the recipe. So you might need more liquids. So
I think that the flour would really change the taste of whether you have like a standard white flour or a gluten-free, a mixed one like this. That would really adjust the taste, wouldn't it?
not so much the taste. Yes, there's going to be a slight change in taste, but it's more the texture. So the texture changes. So if you were using just regular white flour or whole wheat flour, you would have a batter or a muffin that would be more elastic, like more spongy, right?
Okay.
Whereas this one's going to be not. It's actually holds together pretty nicely for a gluten-free product, because usually gluten-free just falls apart. But this one holds together quite nicely, and that's pretty much because of the combination of flours and the guar gum and the coconut flour we're going to be using.
So is this in the recipe as well, this particular mix, or is it on your website?
Yeah, so you'll see next to, in brackets, I said I use equal parts of, and it's these three flours. And pretty much in all of my cookbooks, I'm using that combination, those three flours. So that's pretty standard in my kitchen for gluten-free flour.
Cool. Let the cake begin. Yes, Marianne, chocolate cake, favorite dessert. Love it.
Okay, we'll have to play with setup next time, so I'm not reaching across the table. Okay, what's next? What's next on the
All right,
list?
so we did the apple cider, 1/3 cup applesauce.
Okay, we're going to talk about that in a second.
Afterwards, okay, so you got the gluten-free flour.
Yeah.
the zargum gum, xanthan gum, and guar gum.
Yeah. So xanthan gum or guar gum are typically used in gluten-free baking to help everything kind of stay together. So it's like a gum. It's binding. If you don't happen to have it, it's totally fine. It will still work. It might be a little bit more crumbly, but that's okay. You can actually try just maybe like a tablespoon of ground up flax seeds or chia seeds, and that might do the same job.
And what's that? Just like a binder?
It's a binder, yeah. So half a teaspoon. Okay, so that's the guar gum. What else?
I'm lost already by all the tools you got here. Then you have a half teaspoon of baking soda.
So just regular baking soda, okay.
And then 2 tablespoons of baking powder.
So 2 teaspoons, not
tablespoons. Sorry, teaspoons.
2 teaspoons.
So that make a difference? What's
Yes.
what's the baking powder? What if I want 2 tablespoons instead of 2 teaspoons?
2 tablespoons, you'll probably find it will overrise and it'll be too salty. Yeah, you don't want too much.
Okay.
All right.
And then we have a half cup of coconut sugar.
Yeah, so coconut sugar.
So what type of, can it be any sugar?
Yeah, so we can use pretty much any sugar. You'll notice in my recipes, I generally use coconut sugar. You can use other sweeteners of your choice. You can use like organic cane sugar. You can use monk fruit sugar, which I do use sometimes. You can use other natural sugars like sucanat. So yeah, whatever kind of sweetener you have. I find the coconut sugar isn't necessarily as sweet as like a white sugar. So if you have a really sweet tooth and you cook with white sugar, you might think this might be not as sweet as what you're used to. But
I know. Well, I know. I used to have a really big sweet tooth, and now, so Rita's been making a lot of stuff for me for quite some time, and been changing and reducing the sugar so it's not as sweet. So I'm now very used to a very like not sweet at all. And anytime I have something sweet, it's like a shock to the system. And I find like a lot of Asian desserts are toned down on the sweetness, which seems to be a little bit more for my palate now.
Yeah, once you start to reduce your sugar intake or even change the type of sugar you're using, you will notice when things are overly sweet.
So is that the same? Because I know things like monk fruit and cane sugar, they all have, we had to adjust the sweetness on that then? So
if you're using monk fruit, which is a combination of a monk fruit, which is the fruit, plus erythritol, which is like they call it a sugar alcohol. So it's considered more of a lower calorie sweetener, but not artificial. But that would be closer to the taste of white sugar, in my opinion. So if I want to make something for someone else, and I know that they're maybe not so much into the natural stuff, I might use the monk fruit sugar because taste-wise, it tastes a little sweeter. So even though I'm using the same amount of sugar quantity-wise, taste-wise, it will be slightly sweeter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just added what, 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder?
Yeah. So whatever. Yeah. So just a regular cocoa powder. You can use raw cocoa powder.
Is that one raw?
No, this one is not a raw.
Is there a difference between raw or regular? I see this is organic, but is there a difference between non-organic, organic?
Definitely whatever I can get organic, I would do first. The less, when you decrease the amount of pesticides and things like that in not only our food, but in our diet, then the better off we are. So yeah, in this case, again, because we're cooking with it, I'm just using a regular cocoa powder. But if I were making a raw dessert, as an example, I would use a raw cocoa powder. Yeah. So Marianne's asking about, have you heard of black bean chocolate brownies? I think it's in your recipe book, isn't it? Yeah, my first cookbook. I do have it, although it has eggs in it, so I haven't made that in a long time. We haven't eaten eggs in a while. Well, speaking of eggs, so Marianne says she uses ground flaxseed to replace egg in baked goods. Yeah. And is that the same thing? So you had the xanthan gum or guar gum, and then you can say you can substitute flax or chia. Is that your egg? That's essentially your egg then. So yeah, so the egg in regular baking is also a binder. So in this case, yes, the flax and or the chia can be used as a binder.
Nice, nice, awesome. Mary, you are right in here, aren't you? That's awesome, Mary. Well done.
Okay, this is a little trick. So because we're making chocolate, I can easily hide beet powder. And basically all it is dehydrated beets that are ground up into a powder. And
So
any health food store will carry it.
So you're sneaking vegetables in here?
I'm sneaking vegetables
You're
into your
always
food.
sneaking vegetables and everything. Oh my God. I mean, I'm not complaining, but it's sneaky.
It's sneaky.
Very sneaky. So how much nutrition wise, what you just put, what, a teaspoon in there?
A teaspoon. So from what I've read, 1 teaspoon is supposed to equal a beet.
A beet.
A whole beet.
Wow. And I hate beets. I'm not a fan of beets, but
Yeah.
not here. You're secretly making them love them in a powder form.
Yeah,
That
powder.
is-
Yeah, so I hide them in there. If you don't have the beet powder, don't worry. You don't have to add it. It's totally fine. That's just something I sneak in when I can.
Okay. So now you got a teaspoon of vanilla extract.
Okay, so before we get to that, so this
Mm.
is all our dry ingredients.
Okay. And then you have 2 tablespoons of coconut flour.
Yeah, so again,
That's already in
yet.
there.
Not
Not
yet.
yet.
We're
Not
gonna
yet.
do that at the end. Yeah, so, okay, so let me
Oh.
go grab the oil. I forgot the coconut oil.
I guess I should be really reading directions and not the
Not
ingredients.
ingredients.
See, this is the whole non-cooker phase that, I'm just looking at ingredients. Mind you, I used to cook all the time. I used to be a cook in a restaurant. So, and I used to bake and whatnot, but Rita's just so good at it that I am out. I just haven't done it in so long. I'm just useless now with that.
No, you're not. I just do it all the time. So for me, this is second nature. Like I just do, right? So I don't think about it anymore. It's just.
Yes, Marnie. Marnie is not a fan of beets either. Yes.
Oh, okay.
There's my sister. There's my sister. And BG has a question. In the frosting, what will work as a substitute for tapioca flour? So we're gonna do frosting afterwards, right?
Yeah. So you can, yeah, we're gonna do frosting next. But if you don't have tapioca, you can use arrowroot. You can use cornstarch. Those are the 2 that stick out. So maybe you have one of those on hand.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So this was all our dry stuff, right? Our
Just gonna
flour,
hold that up.
baking powder, baking soda, sugar, right? So that's all our dry stuff. So now it's just mix it, make sure there's no clumps. Sometimes the brown rice or the coconut sugar clumps. So we just don't want too many clumps. So we're just gonna make like a well in the center and just moving the flour up and have a little empty spot in the center. And that's where we're gonna start putting our liquids.
Now, would you use your finger for this, or is this
No,
never use the fingers?
don't need to use fingers. Just use whatever you have, a spoon, a whisk,
Now,
spatula.
so in this state right now, can you eat this dry?
Stop.
I saw-
All right.
Okay.
So.
And what's this? Oh, yeah, this
okay,
is our-
so now we can put all the individual wet ingredients one at a time, or we can just put everything together. So sorry.
Okay.
So here's our milk with our vinegar.
So you're gonna
right?
pour the milk in. Oh, okay.
So then I'm gonna add the oil to my milk,
Okay.
and then vanilla. And I'm terrible for not measuring, so that was probably more than a teaspoon, but all good.
All good.
All
More
good.
vanilla,
and
the
then
better.
lastly, it's the applesauce. So I didn't have any applesauce, to be honest. I usually use these little applesauce containers because I don't
Oh, that's a good idea.
use applesauce other than for baking.
And how much is that?
That's 1/3 of a cup.
A third of it. Okay.
So I used it earlier to make a batch of muffins, but that was my last one. But I did have some pureed pears that I made earlier, probably before Christmas. I had too many pears. They just went soft all at once. And so I cooked them up and then pureed them. And so I'm going to use pear sauce.
So you mean
Instead of
before
applesauce.
Christmas?
Before
Been sitting on the
Christmas.
counter for like a month or
No,
two?
it's been in the freezer.
Oh, in the free.
It's
Okay.
been in-
And that freezes okay.
yes.
Okay.
It freezes fine. So yeah, so I'm using pear puree, but it doesn't matter. Generally, I would use applesauce, but if you don't have applesauce, you can use a 1/3 of a cup of mashed banana. You can use 1/3 of a cup of mashed avocado. What else is a good substitute?
Anything wet?
Yogurt. You could probably use
yogurt,
like
okay.
some yogurt.
How would that affect our curdled milk here?
So again, every change you make to the recipe will change the consistency of the batter.
Okay, so Marnie is asking, can beet powder be added to most desserts that are a cake? And would it affect the taste?
There usually is a slight taste, so that's why I like it.
Give me the beet powder. I gotta smell it. Okay.
It smells like beets.
It does smell like beets. Does not smell like beets. That is. Ooh, oh, I guess so. Once all the dust clears from your nose. Okay. So it does it have a beet taste though?
Yeah, it's beets.
Oh,
it's ground up beets.
Okay.
So yes, it's gonna have a beet taste. So if you can easily hide it in things with a stronger taste. So cocoa powder generally masks a lot of taste. So
okay.
it's very easy. If anything you're making that's chocolate based or cocoa based, sure, hide it in.
But that would change the color too, wouldn't it?
Not with cocoa. If you were doing like
vanilla, let's say vanilla.
Then it would have like a slight color to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what if you were making like what's the red velvet?
Yeah. So that usually red velvet is red food coloring added to.
But you could use beets.
You could use beets. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Just back off on the cocoa a little bit, add some extra red beet powder, and you'll have more of a red velvet.
Okay, so this is looking really gross.
Yeah. So.
Sorry, I shouldn't say that because the food is just so delicious, but I didn't realize. If y'all could see this, it's very volcanic-like, just bubbles all over. But it's active. It's alive, which is probably a good thing. So would this be like high vibe? Would you, if it's alive like this, I'd say this is like high vibe. I feel.
Well, it's curdling, so the vinegar is activating all the ingredients.
It's alive.
It's alive. Okay, so I think we have everything on our list. I'm hoping I didn't forget anything. I know there's coconut.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Flour that I haven't talked about yet, but we're not going to do coconut flour just yet.
Okay, Marnie's apologizing because that she had me smell that.
Ah! Okay.
So the cocoa will mask it. Good to know. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so we got our dry, and we're just going to put our wet in. And
so it's slow, or you dump it in?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter because when I'm by myself, I just dump it.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
So now you're just bringing in a little bit of the edges in bit by bit, right?
Yeah, so just pour it all in.
Pour it all in. Okay.
Okay, so I don't know if you can see that. Can you see on your screen?
A little bit, yeah.
So basically, we're just gonna stir from the center and incorporate dry.
Bit by bit, you're
bit by
doing
bit
it, right?
into the center.
Using your whisk.
Using the whisk. So I'm just gonna keep doing that. Make sure you get all the flour incorporated into the liquid.
And that's kind of standard. Like you have the dry and the wet, and you mix them together.
And then you mix them together.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Smells pretty chocolatey. Yum yum.
Yeah. So if you want more chocolate taste, then sure, add more cocoa powder. Except you might need to add a little bit extra milk. That's totally fine. Okay. So where's my cocoa flour? Here we go. Okay, so the coconut flour. So if you don't have this, it's totally fine. The recipe will still work. I like to add a little bit of the coconut flour, a little bit to absorb some of the liquids. So.
Ooh, is that your secret?
Yes. So.
Oh, secret! Secret alert! Secret alert!
So it helps to bind up the liquid so it doesn't fall apart so easily. But coconut flour is so high in fiber that it's another way to get nutrients into the food.
So this is like a healthy chocolate cake that helps me poop.
There you go. Okay.
All good.
So I put it in at the end and not in the beginning because I find if I do it in the beginning, it just soaks up all the liquids too quickly. So I do it at the end. Okay. So that's it for the cake. Oops, I'm making a mess. So not too runny, not too stiff. If you find yours is too stiff, like then just add a little bit more liquid milk.
It almost seems like a little gummy. Like that is.
Yeah, so that's the guar gum.
That's the guar gum.
Yeah.
it's like effort to steer that. You are really strong, aren't you? Like just to be able to whisk that. And I know that when our days in the gym, you're just freakishly strong, but
Yeah.
this is, wow. Okay, that's,
Yeah. So
just feel those muscles.
Feel
Oh,
those muscles.
those
see?
biceps are just flexed right now. It's nice.
Okay, so we can. If you want to, can you grab me with the muffin tin?
The muffin tin. Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Lisa. Glad you're coming from the road.
Okay, so I hope I didn't do that too quickly because I do tend to do things very quickly. So now we're just gonna.
And that's why I don't bake anymore, because she doesn't let me cook. I'm just too slow. It's frustrating.
It's just quicker if I do it. That's all. It's just quicker. So the oven should be preheated to 375, and they bake for 20 minutes. So I usually get like 9 or 10 out of one batch. If you want to get a 12, then you're just going to put less into each little tin. But yeah, so you should get about 9 or 10. A good tip is if you oil this is a quarter cup. So a quarter cup, actually, can I have that for a second?
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of oil left here. I'm actually just gonna put that in. So I'm gonna oil this.
Oh, you just use the rubber thing.
Yeah.
See, I'd be using my finger for everything. That's...
So when you oil it, it just pops right out of the cup. And so it just makes spooning it into your containers that much easier.
Margie, you're asking me technical data. So I'm not on Zoom right now. I'm using a streaming software called StreamYard that is free. This particular one is paid, but Zoom free gives you 40 minutes of group conversation, but one-on-one, it's unlimited time on Zoom on a free account. So that's typically what it is with Zoom.
Okay, so there you go. So we're.
Sorry, Marnie. I said poop around cake. So it's not good.
All right. Any questions so far?
So that was pretty easy.
Pretty easy, right? You just.
Especially when you did it.
So yeah, so 20 minutes, and you would get.
Yes.
After 20 minutes, you get some cupcakes. So I went ahead and made a batch this morning so that we could decorate them together. So I thought let me clean up a little bit and we'll do the icing. The icing, again, super simple. The icing, it works a little better if you have like a little hand mixer, but we don't have power in this area, so we're just gonna use muscle.
Okay.
And see if it works. But so yeah, so that's what the cupcakes look like. They do rise a little bit, and then this one is already decorated for us.
Awesome.
And also, you don't have to do a chocolate icing. You can just leave it vanilla.
Oh, as it is.
You can just, you don't have to put cocoa powder in it, but this is nice because of the coconut flakes on top. It just is good contrast, but you can definitely do just a vanilla icing, or you can do chocolate, or swirl it.
Yeah.
Get creative.
Yeah, it does look easier, Marnie. Yeah, it's easier than I thought too. She did the same thing with chocolate pudding made with avocado, and that is really easy. So I was making that for a little while as well when I wanted my chocolate pudding. Very easy, very easy. Rita's all about easy. That's easy cooking.
Okay, so I'm gonna move this again. We'll do the icing.
Perfect.
Okay, so.
Oh, good. You're all set.
I'm all set for it.
Okay. So frosting. So I'm on the frosting section of your thing here.
Yep.
So I see the first thing you have is a half cup of coconut oil, softened, not melted.
Right. So for the batter, we melted it, right? So I put it on the stove and I melted it, but it wasn't hot. It was just melted. In this case, we're going to keep the coconut oil at like a room temperature, I guess this would say. So We don't want it too soft, or else when we're trying to pipe the icing, it's just going to melt all over the place. Or
So with this, what would this be in like a typical recipe? Would this be butter?
oh yeah, so so generally speaking, icing is usually butter or some kind of shortening and icing sugar. I don't own icing sugar. I refuse to use icing sugar. So this icing is a little different, but I still think it tastes awesome.
So do I. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so that's the coconut oil. If you don't have coconut oil, you can use like vegan butters. That works totally fine.
And then you have a 1/4 cup tapioca flour.
Yeah, so that was one of the things I changed. I accidentally, on the online recipe, I had 1/2 cup. That's going to be way too much. So it's only 1/4 cup. And again, if you don't have tapioca flour, use like arrowroot flour or cornstarch. Those are the two that come to mind. There might be others, but.
Yeah, Marnie has a great question. She's asking if this cake would be okay for a diabetic to enjoy.
Yeah, so in that case, you could even, instead of the coconut sugar, which would be fine for a diabetic, you can go with like the monk fruit, because it is more stabilizing for blood sugar issues. So I would just change the sugar out to the monk fruit and keep everything the same.
Okay, so monk fruit. There you go, Marnie.
Yep.
Good question. Thanks for asking that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was a tapioca. And what does the tapioca do?
So it helps it keep, it gives it a little bit of texture. Otherwise, you're just eating coconut oil.
Okay.
Right? So it gives it a little bit of texture.
Okay. And then you have a 1/4 cup of maple syrup.
Maple syrup. So that's the liquid sweetener I'm using. I guess I'm trying to think if there's any other liquid sweetener. I guess raw agave would be a good substitute.
Didn't agave get like a bad rap?
Yeah, because not all of it is raw. So raw agave is a great food, but once it's pasteurized, it's not that great for you. So let's see if I can find, what did you say, 1/4 cup, right?
1/4 cup. And then how about like honey?
Oh, honey. Yeah. So if you're not vegan and you want to use honey, yeah, that's a great choice too.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice. And then a teaspoon of vanilla.
Vanilla.
Oh yeah. Kira says stevia is also good for diabetics.
Oh yes, yeah, I forgot about stevia. Yeah, stevia is also a good sugar to use.
But I've
substitute.
Isn't I mean I think I've had stevia before, and it was kind of gross.
Not everybody likes the taste of it, so you have, because it's an herb, right? So it can have like a bitter taste sometimes. Okay, so if I had a whip, like a hand mixer, I would just whip this up until it's nice and creamy. So I'll kind of, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but it's not so bad with just my hand here, using this. So if your kitchen is too warm and your coconut oil is too soft, then you might see the product separate. So in that case, you just have to either put it in the fridge for a few minutes so that the coconut oil stiffens up a bit. You can try adding extra tapioca flour. Okay, so basically, so imagine I had a hand mixer and I whipped it up. It's nice and kind of creamy, smooth.
And is that, so this one looks a little, it looks smooth, but also looks a little liquidy. Is that
because it's warm in here.
It's warm in here.
It's warm.
So what would you do then? Put it in the fridge for a bit, or what would you do?
Well, I'm gonna add the coconut flakes, so that's gonna also help stiffen it up.
Okay. So coconut flakes, you have 1 cup of shredded coconut.
Yeah.
So that's quite a bit.
That's a lot.
All right.
So that's gonna, again, give it texture. So as you can see, I'm not measuring exact, right? So I probably maybe got a little bit more than a cup, but that's okay. You can adjust the recipe.
So this is why it always, sometimes consistency or taste can be slightly different every time. It's always good, mind you, but it's always a little bit different.
Yeah. So as you can see, the coconut has now helped to absorb some of the fat.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah, that's
Right?
nice and thick now.
so it's nice and thick.
And that's just so you usually use a hand mixer for this.
Yeah.
What would be the difference when you're looking at this now compared to a hand mixer? How would this be different?
I can't really tell.
Oh,
At
okay.
this point, I can't tell.
So that wasn't a whole lot of mixing even with hand.
No,
So even if you don't have power,
yeah, you can still mix it.
outside of cooking it maybe, but
Yeah, there you go. So it's not as runny as it was. So this is pretty good consistency. We can pipe that onto our cakes.
no, it's really good.
So, what do you think? You want to try piping?
Are we? Ooh, piping. Let's go.
Piping?
Let's pipe. It's
Okay,
one
so
step closer to eating.
I can get a second piping bag and do half vanilla, half chocolate.
Wow.
Or you
That's-
just,
oops.
oops. I'm gonna move this over there.
So, but you could just smear it on, right?
Yeah, actually you can.
I don't know if
So-
I'm that patient for have a piping bag. I just want to
You just wanna
smear
put
and
some
eat.
on? Okay, here. You want to smear some on?
That's okay. You can do that. Smearing's easy. I don't think we got to show rid of that, but yeah, we can do. If you want to do the piping bag, or we can just smear, whatever you want to do.
Okay, so I made a batch earlier and I put it in a piping bag. I have a little piping tip and
Wait a minute. This
Let
is a
me
different
see.
color. Yours is chocolate.
mine's chocolate.
What
So-
do we? Oh, so we got to add cocoa powder.
Right, so that's what I was saying
Oh,
earlier. You
vanilla.
can leave it vanilla, or you can add cocoa powder and make a chocolate version.
Okay.
Or you can do half and half and put both in a piping bag
And
get
have a
like
swirl. Ah, so smart.
Or just make half with a chocolate
I
icing
love
and
that.
half with vanilla. So that 58% that want chocolate
Ah,
gets chocolate.
My wife is a genius.
All right, so I don't know if you can see. If it's better, I just pipe on here, maybe?
Sure. Why not?
Okay, I'll do one. So basically, you're just pressing and swirling. That's it. It's hard to tell with the chocolate. So again, I'm
Really
just gonna
easy.
start on the side. I'm gonna squeeze, and that's it. And then you can decorate it with. Might be easier if I make. I'm gonna do some of that. Good.
That's it.
Good.
That was so easy. No wonder you make these things for me all the time.
It's not hard.
My baby loves me.
Yes, I do.
Awesome.
Yeah. Questions? You guys want me to do some white vanilla frosting?
Why not? Well, we
Just
have
to
it.
Find another bag. Okay, let me go find another
Or we can
bag.
just smear.
Or smear. You want to smear?
I'm going to smear.
You're gonna smear.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna
okay.
pipe.
I'm just going to smear. And we'll see if I remember how to bake it all. Now, how high can you make this icing?
How high?
Yeah, how high?
I would just-
I kind of like the icing. I could really peek it. I think I want more icing. There we go. So I'm doing a double scoop of icing. I don't know if Rita's going to approve this.
Oh my god.
No? Is that wrong?
It's a lot of icing.
Okay.
Okay, so into the piping bag. Maybe you should do this.
I gotta set that aside. So one big scoop. Oh,
Do that.
oh, really?
Okay.
Ooh, that is fancy.
Fancy.
Okay, so I can do a bigger scoop then.
Yeah. Good. Okay, cool. One more.
One more.
One more.
Whoa, so good. Make sure I got all this. There we go. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's do.
That's right, Lisa. Smear and eat. There's no time to wait. Smear
so
and
this one
eat.
doesn't have a fancy tip. It's just a regular
Oh,
hole.
cool.
So, so again, I'm just gonna squeeze and decorate as you like.
So how would you get the swirl if you want to do both and both? We just shoved all this in, but how would you do? So Marty's like, yeah, I never thought about the swirl either. I think it's a great idea. I've seen it, Rita do it, but how do you fill the piping bag to get the swirl?
It's complicated. You have to take the bag and kind of divide it up. So try and put put it just on one side and then move everything to one side and do the other color on the other side. So
Okay.
you'd have both colors within the same piping bag. So when you're piping, both colors are being swirled out at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
And there you
Awesome.
go.
Well,
That's
are we ready?
it. Are you?
I missed breakfast for this.
you-
So we have our muffin. That's awesome. This
Okay.
is, you want a bite? You want the first?
Want a
You can have
bite?
you want the
Less icing.
I couldn't wait. That's really good.
And that's it.
The icing can be pretty sweet.
It's sweet.
That's like really sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Really good though. So good. So now what? We go off camera and you're just gonna eat silly.
No, now we're just gonna eat cupcakes all afternoon and support the truckers.
Yep. I don't know if you guys have heard, but the Canadian truckers all across Canada, many from the States are coming up to support to stop the mandates. There's even truckers in Brazil and
The US is joining.
the US. Yeah, this is the Guinness World Record of truckers. The last I heard, as the first trucks entered Ontario, the last trucks were leaving Manitoba. And that is spanning a province. That is massive, like going over one giant province. So this is really a movement to wake people up and stop the mandates. And we definitely support the truckers, and we're thankful. We're thankful for these truckers that deliver this food to us, because we wouldn't be eating this if it wasn't for the truckers to get it on our shelves. So thank you to all the truckers and the farmers and all the people that take care of us. Every job that we have, no matter how small, everyone has a job and a component to do with this. And I'm thankful, and we both are. We're all thankful. And once we go without it, we're going to realize how thankful we really are once we miss it. So let's all be respectful and kind to everyone, and just eat muffins.
Just eat cupcakes.
All right, that's it.
All right. Yeah.
Well, happy National Chocolate Cake Day, everybody. Much love, and we will see you. I'll be back on tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time for channeling. So channeling Eric is back. Bring your questions, and we're going to be doing lots of channeling. Rita and I were going to be back in February, February 13th for another cooking class. But William Michael Forbes and Norma Jones, another high vibe couple that is very much a twin flame and very much in love, they're going to be joining us, and we're going to make something together, something raw. I think raw brownies, maybe.
We're gonna do raw brownies.
Yeah, so raw brownies. So exciting, super fun. All good, Kira. Obviously, this is recorded. We're going to see that again. Lisa gives a little bit of thanks. Thank you much, Rita, for showing us a wonderful recipe. Yes, I love my wife. She's so good. Thank you, baby. And lots of love. And the recipe is in the link. Thanks for saying that, Marnie. Yes, the recipe is in the link. Or you can go to Rita's website, also in the description, oasishealth.ca. You can check out her YouTube channel and her website. And she does remote dowsing and healing and whatnot. So if anyone wants to know more about Rita, it's all good. So super excited. Thanks, everybody. Much love. And we will see you
February 13th.
I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Bye.